Okay, so here we are, Tuesday morning. I just got done going for a run. Figured I'd try to get something in before it gets extremely stupid. But, so we didn't film cleanup, because that's just kind of lame and boring. Whatever, we cleaned up the yard. We basically picked up anything that was potentially loose, or, it could be picked up and thrown, which is kind of a plus, because it's like, you only talk about spring cleaning. Ironically enough, typically when there's a hurricane coming around, that's when you really kind of clean up the outdoors, like legitimately clean up. You get everything cleaned up around your house so there's no potential debris to be flung. Now, having said that, moving on to the house. So yesterday afternoon, we prepped the house a little bit, and I'm going to show you what we did. But we ended up, enjoying the day. Yesterday was Monday, so it was Labor Day. We enjoyed it. We cooked it and kind of just relaxed and didn't let this whole situation affect us too terribly much. But in the meantime, we did do some preparation, and that is what I'm going to show you now. So first up, we have the preparation of the outdoor kitchen here. Now what I want you to notice is, so here's our tarp. We have the tarp on the ground. It's like, oh, whatever, you put a tarp on the ground. Yeah, we put a tarp on the ground, we put dirt around it so the wind can't pick it up. But more importantly, this is going to keep this place of dirt here dry. Just like the pipe sitting on top, it just gives it some mass down. The rain will fill up on top of it and it'll keep this area dry. So that in the end, we have our little workstation here, and then we have another additional place to have a landing, and then you see all those bricks here. Well, the bricks are keeping this in place right now because they're not going to go anywhere. But with that, I've got a brick landing so that I can then set up a hurricane stove, ironically enough, or a forced air stove basically, so that I can boil water. I've got my cooking griddle ready to go, I've got my chamber ready to go, and I've got reflective metal in order to help me maximize heat usage, and so on and so forth. So all of this is our outdoor kitchen. It's all ready to go. We've got the center pole still set up from when it was my work area, and then in order to help keep the tarp in place, the corner pegs, the corner posts, are all underneath the tarp there, helping weigh down the windy side here. And then with that, we left all of our moorings in place. So I've got my bucket here, my corner bucket, and my brick down there where they actually go. And then my pegs are still in the ground, and the 550 cord's actually just wrapped around them. So it's deployable, basically, is the best way to say it. We got the center one here set up, and then we got the corner one here set up with the dog screw, the dog run screw as an anchor as well. So basically all we end up having to do is, once it's time to deploy the kitchen here, we just clean the dirt off, pull the water off the top so that we have a nice dry area here. The tarp is actually still connected back here in the back moorings. So all of these anchor points here are actually still connected to the tarp. We didn't disconnect those so that we can just pull the tarp up and over the centerpiece, get everything lashed on the backside, and then we bring our corner posts in underneath the grommets and wedge them in, and it gives it nice, good tension. So that is our outdoor kitchen. Our outdoor kitchen is all ready to go. Okay, moving on. Shutters. So we have our own shutters. I made these, I don't know, about 2 years ago when I redid the siding on the house. I took all of the window cutouts from when we had to cut the paneling to go around the windows underneath the trim and whatnot, and I saved it all, and then I made actual homemade shutters. Now what I did with these here, and this is where the cool thing comes into play. So here I've got 1/4 inch by 3/4 eye bolts. So these are eye lags actually, so they're lagged in, they go all the way in about whatever 2.5 inches, and then I welded a washer to the bottom here, and it's on the bottom. And then we've got hooks that I made here that were originally lag bolts that I cut the head off of, and then I heated these up and bent them, and then after I was done I heated them up again and oil quenched them so that they were actually super strong. So I didn't temper them, but I did quench them and then leave them be so they're nice and hard, and then they are threaded into the wall. These also go into the cripples here around the windows, the studs around the windows. These go all the way into the studs, so these go in 3 inches as well. And then basically the whole washer system sits down on top of this and can hinge. So I got one at the bottom, one at the top. I did this all the way around, so I got these ones over here too. Now what I did though is they're actual shutters. So I'll come around here and I'll show you the ones from my daughter's bedroom. So these here are actual shutters, and I say actual shutters because they open and close. So we've got latches here, and then they have the hinges on them just like the other ones, so that when it comes time to button up the house for the actual storm, I can do so. And then when the storm passes and it comes time for us to try to hunker it out, or to survive it out basically, we have the option of opening the shutters up to let light in, because the odds are the power is going to be out. But with that, we still have to deal with a potential tornado spur-offs. A lot of times, the rain bands that come across us when we get these kind of hurricanes can also drop tornadoes, because you have an interchange of whatever the closest high pressure zone is, plus the winds coming in off of the ocean making landfall. You get a lot of these little spin-offs, and so in order to be prepared for that as well, you know, if we need to get out and button up real quick because we know something's coming, we can do so. We'll still be protected inside the house, but for the most part, it gives us the opportunity to let light in as soon as we need to let light in, because there's no fun being in a dark house and trying to survive off of batteries when you don't know if you can or can't open it, because if you unscrew stuff, then you have to screw it back on, so you're outside with a drill in the rain. No good. With this, we made them just like real shutters. The only difference is my shutters are about 1.5 inches thick. You can see here they're actually really thick because it's 3/4 plus 3/4. Now granted, these are only just trim pieces here, but they all collect down into the middle, right where the weakest point of the window is here is in the middle. And they have these cross bracings on them, so they're super strong. They're way more than, I mean, your average person puts 3/4 OSB up, and that's down in Florida even, to protect their coastline buildings. Now, that's on the bedrooms here. So you see this one here, this one I made a little bit different. See, this one just has a single cross brace on it, because that's around the front side of the house here. And we actually get less hard winds on this side of the house. So that direction there is east. And so typically, because of how our house is orientated east or north-south this way, our winds will come from mostly that way at first. So everything comes from this way, blowing at our house this way, and then as the storm passes, it starts to come from the wood line here at the house this way. So the front of the house was built a little bit different when I made the shutters. Now, having said that, these ones are full panel. So you can see here that this one here is actually a full panel shutter. So it looks like it's 2 single shutters, right? But it's actually one big panel that goes all the way across the window. And then up here in the middle, we have a regular buckle latch. So we can shut it up here. This is our dining room area. So this way we can let light in, and we're good to go on that. And so that's for the little living room area here. Real quick deployment. Same thing with the living space here. Now with the living room, we have 3 windows in a row. And there was no reason to actually have 3 hinging ones, because this one here in the middle would have been weird. So this is a static panel. So it's still a doubled up panel in the middle here. So it still looks like a regular panel. I've got the same hinge set up here, where it just sits on the grommets, but this one actually just sits down onto those, and it stays stationary here the whole time. That window is always protected. And then these outside ones here, if you look, I actually have them hooked to the house here so that the wind doesn't want to open them up or make them swing around when we're in dormant time or still dealing with just off winds. But when I want to, this one here also hinges closed and then can get latched here. Now granted, these little latches are not what holds this all together. When it comes to the main stuff that's going to hit us tomorrow, we'll actually put a piece of 550 cord in here and latch this to increase the joint here on this, and it keeps it a little more stable, so we don't get as much wobble in the shutters. But you can see it covers up the entire window there nice and tight. And then when we're ready to let daylight in, we just pop the latch up here one-handed, and we can bring the door out and around, and boom, locks it in, and now we got daylight. So we're good to go. Now, difference again, bedroom side here. So our master bedroom has 2 windows. Both of these I made static, because for us, we don't really need all that much. Once the time's time to button up, we just button up and leave it. These ones are set up the same way that the middle window is there, where it's got the hooks on it here. So everything just sits down on the hooks and it locks them into place. So that is literally just fixed in. It's super heavy. It actually takes 2 of us to do it. Not that I couldn't do it myself, but it's hard to see the other side. So basically you get 1 person on each side. You know, 1 person takes care of the top and bottom alignment here, and then the other person takes care of top and alignment bottom there, and then once you get set, you just lock down into place, and it's set to go. Got the double in the, double thickness in the middle with what looks like a seam, and then we've got the X bracing in order to help give it extra support and whatnot. And it really is super, super strong. Now that's the house. As far as everything else is concerned, most of the yard is just straight up cleaned up. Everything's been moved except for the, and if you look back there, I got my tires and stuff, my training tires. Those aren't going to go anywhere. They're so heavy, they'll stay stationary. Now there is one other thing. So our garden, for the most part right now, is pretty much gone through its longevity. I have 1 tomato plant. It's a Laroma that just all of a sudden decided to throw a brand new shoot off of what looked like it was a dead plant, and has produced flowers, and I've got like 3 or 4 new tomatoes on there. They're still green. So we were talking, my wife and I were talking yesterday about probably just harvesting them and then just making fried green tomatoes, because we weren't actually expecting anything to come off of it. Now, the other hand is this. So here we have our watermelons. I got these little baby sweet watermelons, and to keep these from getting blown around or even breaking off, I actually took some mosquito netting and I pinned it to the ground. So I made these giant staples, these little pin staples here out of coat hanger, and I've got them pinned in the ground. Of course, that's the heavy wind side is right there, so that's doubled under itself, and then everything is pinned in an angle opposite of each other, so toe-nailed if you would. But this will just keep this gourd from going anywhere. It'll give it some protection to keep the wind from trying to pick it up. Interestingly enough, this one's almost ready to be picked. It's just a baby sweet, so it's not very big, but I've still got flowers being produced. I've even got a couple small ones underneath that side over there. Same thing with this guy here. So here's another one. This one's not quite as far along as the other guy is. But notice once again I pinned it in, and of course the wind will be coming from this way. So I put the narrow side with the wind to create a ramp up and over this little guy, and then pinned it in all the way around just to kind of keep it protected so it can't get picked up or rolled or moved and then break off the stem, because we definitely don't want that. We want these 2 to finish out, and even those other couple over there, which I don't know if they'll actually finish out. They're pretty small for as far in the season as we are, but they are protected, so we'll see how that goes. Okay, so there you have it. So that's where we're at right now. That's our prep, our hurricane prep. For now, we are prepped and ready to go. The next video will definitely be post-storm. Having said that, though, it probably won't be uploaded until Saturday, maybe Sunday. It depends on how much wind damage we get and what kind of power outages we get. Everything's been cleared out pretty good, actually. This last spring, they spent quite a bit of time pushing back everything from the main power lines and actually extended the break by an additional 20 feet. So we've got like 35-foot clearance from all the power lines right now throughout this whole county. After the last storm we had, they went through and just cleared everything out. We've already had our line cleaned. They came out a couple months ago, just after the big spring growth came in, and we had them clean our line coming in too, so our line's all clear, minus the big trees. So with that, we'll probably upload another video sometime Saturday or Sunday when our power comes back on, that'll kind of show you how we do afterwards, how we use the outdoor kitchen, boiling water, but large amounts of water quickly, because I will boil 5 gallons of water in about 25-30 minutes with a fire, no problem. And then they have, my family has hot water to bathe with, hot water to wash stuff with, dishes and whatnot. And then good old country cooking. We'll be doing some cast iron cooking, whether it's skillet cooking and or Dutch oven cooking. We'll be doing both. And then on that, we'll just try to survive, thrive and survive, because we enjoy it. We'll be, we play board games and we just cook out like we're camping. So you'll get a nice little taste of that. So hopefully all goes well, and I'll see you on the other side of the storm.